Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. Now, much like myself, and just because you're watching this video, I would presume that you are somewhat involved in the abyss that is Girl World. And while there are many adjectives that can be used to describe both the girls in Girls World, one phrase has been rearing its ugly head, let's say, quite significantly this last week or so, especially in the wake of the collab between Beck and Destiny. And that phrase is self-entitlement. Where does this sense of self-entitlement come from? What does it take for an individual to be so concerned with themselves that the only thing that matters to them is that they get to do or say or feel the way they want to feel, and basically fuck anybody else? Where does a sense of self-entitlement that is detrimental to your life come from? Well, obviously, the first response would be narcissism. Narcissism is a word that is thrown around for both our girls, and, in my opinion, is a word that definitely applies. But self-entitlement is more complicated than just blaming it on narcissism. You can have a strong sense of self-entitlement and not be a narcissist. All narcissists are self-entitled. Not all self-entitled people are narcissists, though. The degree of self-entitlement will vary from individual to individual, and a lot of external factors will influence the degree of which your self-entitlement is ingrained in your personality and your character. Your upbringing has a lot to do with it, as is your basic personality, your experiences in life, and the social norms that you have been brought up with. If you were raised as a child who was continuously praised or was given whatever they asked for, was also raised to be rewarded for things without having to work for the things. In other words, you were just given what you wanted, when you asked for it, regardless of whether or not you earned the reward, say for good academic work or helping with the housework. You just got stuff for existing. This has a great effect on how you will be as an adult. If you were raised in a family that had a certain level of privilege or wealth, for example, you may grow up to have a slightly skewed view of how the world works and believe that things are available to you just because. Say, for example, the first romantic relationship you ever had was with somebody who was extremely generous and giving with their time, their effort, their money, and you were spoiled somewhat. Or you were with somebody who was a chronic people pleaser for their own reasons and did absolutely everything they could for you. They put you on a pedestal. That in itself would give you an unrealistic expectation from future relationships, and so therefore an experience you had with one person may taint what you believe you deserve in a relationship from other people. It has been speculated, ironically, that having a low self-esteem may be a reason for someone to exhibit a strong sense of self-entitlement. It's overcompensation in some respects. It's just basically self-soothing by making yourself feel better by getting other people to treat you like literal royalty. Additionally, and ironically, it is speculated that some people, some with a strong sense of self-entitlement, are literally overcompensating because they have a low self-esteem. Basically, it's an ego boost. They're trying to inflate their own personal sense of worth. If the individual is a narcissist, they will have a strong sense of entitlement and also a strong need to control situations and outcomes in their favour. This also plays into the fact that a narcissist has a very innate sense of superiority, and therefore they are more deserving of the better things, the better treatment in life than other people. And while people with strong senses of entitlement have existed since the beginning of mankind, social media has exasperated the situation. If you are on social media and you see other people succeeding in life, you are going to feel as if you deserve the same as them, especially if they are somewhat similar to you. Additionally, going on social media and being praised continuously for your, let's say, heavily filtered pictures and your edited life, you're going to start believing what's being told to you repetitively, and the realism of what your life is really like and not the life you portray online, or the delusion that you do actually legitimately look like your filtered self, is going to mess with your head somewhat. Do any of these things I've mentioned apply to the particular individuals that girl world is centered around? Well, yes, obviously. I mean, even 9 years ago, when Amber Lynn was with Beck, the sense that their romantic partner, Amber's romantic partners, need to do things for them just by definition of being their romantic partner. Amber expects friends to go out of their way to accommodate her, but if you're her romantic partner, her idea of romantic love, her idea of a partnership, is literally being waited on hand and foot. And in this relationship, this partnership, Amber finances the relationship, and in return for the financing of the relationship, the other person's role is to do everything for them. Basically, if it was an employer-employee relationship, Amber's the employer, their partner is the employee. the employer provides their employee with a roof over their head, their utility bills paid, food, activities, but activities that the employer wants to do, that's important, and pocket money, let's say. And in return for this, the employer, Amber, expects the employee, the romantic partner, to work for them. This is Amber's self-entitlement. This is Amber's idea of what a relationship is. The power imbalance is incredible. And the only reason Crystal was not treated in the same way was that Amber was being financially supported by Crystal's parents, and therefore Amber had no authority. Destiny made it very clear from the onset that she wasn't going to put up with that type of shit. But again, Amber at the beginning didn't have the finances to be in charge. When the money started coming in, Amber, in her true form, began to reveal themselves, let's say. With the failing of their YouTube channel, Amber is losing her only bargaining chip in relationships that she feels she has. She is losing the ability to control other people. All these things that are currently happening, I would say, to Amber, all the dirt that's being dug up, all the worms coming out of the woodwork, all the exposés, all the gossip, the tea that's coming out, is diminishing Amber's power, along with the decreasing ability to accrue revenue. Amber's biggest concern at the moment, in part, is probably the revealing of hygiene issues. Makes her less appealing as an individual, because Amber is a very appearance-oriented individual who believes themselves to be significantly more attractive than they are, whether it's because they only see themselves through a filtered lens, or this is part of the self-entitlement. So the likelihood of Amber getting another romantic partner, now that they and Tommy have possibly broken up, I say possibly because I'm not 100% convinced even now. I wasn't anyway. I think there's more of a chance that they've broken up now, this week, than there was. But still, I am waiting. Amber's also got less money to control people. She is heading down the permanently single-lane highway with their foot on the accelerator. And they know it. It's got to the point, and this also applies to Foodie, that should they find themselves in a position where they will actively want to seek their next romantic partner, the only people they would be able to attract are literal feeders and fat fetishists. You know what I mean. Because for some people, the desire to have their particular gratifications gratified overrides the fact that the person who can gratify them is a literal piece of shit. Some people are so motivated by that particular primal urge, let's say, that the personality of the individual doesn't matter as long as they fit the specific criteria. If there was any relationship future for either of these two individuals, that is probably the only avenue they can find said relationships, unless the unfortunate individual that becomes entangled with either of them has no internet awareness whatsoever. Which makes me realise I have completely gone off topic. Completely. Let's see if I can get back on the horse. So, Amber's need for an individual, Destiny, who had broken up with them, to still cater to their every need, and then to accuse them of becoming cold because they didn't want to, is just an example of how deeply rooted Amber's self-entitlement is. Speaking for myself, if somebody broke up with me, I do not want to spend time with them so soon afterwards because I'm hurt. They've hurt me. I tend to also want to stay out of their way because of shame and embarrassment and not wanting to seem clingy or not an adult enough to move on. Yes, it's tricky if you're still living with the individual, but I wouldn't expect them to behave towards me in exactly the same way as they did when we were a couple. It so happened that as a student, I lived in a shared student house with a couple of people, one of which was my boyfriend at the time, and he did break up with me. So I was living in a house with my ex-boyfriend, and I spent a good 3 months, because as a student I couldn't just move out, I had to live near the university, whatever. I spent a good 3 months going out of my way to avoid them. I spent a lot of time in my bedroom listening to music. I'm not of the mind of staying friends with ex-relationships because relationships end for a reason. Usually that reason is a bit messy or unpleasant, and if you can stay friends with a former romantic partner, it means to me that they were always more of a friend than a romantic partner anyway, if you understand what I mean. But that's me. That is me. And also, apart from that time with when I was a student, I've always been the person to leave. And when I get to the point I want to leave, it's usually a good 6 months after I should have left. And by then, I am done with that individual. But again, that's just me. Can you fix self-entitlement? Is it something that, can be unlearnt, let's say? Well, things like practicing gratitude, trying to be empathetic, being less entitled. It all sounds very easy when you put it into words, but the very nature of being a self-entitled person means that you probably don't think there's anything wrong with you. I mean, taking accountability, being more grateful, practicing gratitude, and, trying to feel empathy is all well and good. But if you're of the mind that, let's say you already think you are those things, nothing's going to change. Well, that's my thoughts on Girl World for today. I have done some crafting stuff that I've recorded for you guys, but I understand that it's not everybody's idea of something to watch, so I've stuck it on the end. If you want to watch me attempting to make a doll very slowly, please continue. If not, I wish you all a very, very good day. Right, so we started with this shape. I have 5 of these that I've sewn together. As you can see, they're sewn together. I haven't turned them inside out yet. I made sure to leave a gap. So I will turn this the right way around, and then I will stuff it, and then I will show you how I close the gap. Turning things inside out can be a monumental pain, especially when you do things like hands and stuff, and they are little. So a good pokey thing is always very handy. So we have a kind of a sort of a rugby ball, American football shaped thing, maybe a ball, but when I stuff it, you'll see my pokey thing that I use. There it is. It was a metal chopstick. Now I buy my stuffing in bulk. This is a 1 kilogram bag. It's very soft. It's the stuff you get in duvets and in teddy bears and things like that. The larger the quantity you buy in one go, the cheaper it turns out. If you're just starting out and you're making plushies or similar for the very, very first time, and you haven't got to the point where you think it's a hobby you'll actually enjoy because you're just trying it out, you haven't committed to it, don't invest your money in buying all the materials in bulk to start off with, because then you'll be stuck with them. Or actually buy the materials brand new. If you're just experimenting to see first, feeling out the hobby to see if you like it first, get fabric from charity shops. It doesn't have to be like curtain material or anything like that. It just could be an item of clothing that you like the fabric of, and then you're getting a whole garment's worth of material for a couple of quid. If you have an old duvet or an old pillow that you were thinking of throwing out, use the stuffing for that first before you start investing money in things. Or an old plushie. If you have kids and your kids are anything like mine, they'll have over 200 plushies, and some of them are a bit worse for wear, and they don't mind sacrificing them, or they won't notice their absence, then use the stuff in from that. Don't invest the money in the hobby immediately, because you won't know if you'll like it, or if you'll have a natural aptitude for it, or if you'll be any good. I got lots of stuff for making jewellery. Turns out I'm not that good at making jewellery, so I still have loads of stuff for making jewellery. It's been sat there for a good 5 years. I might try it again, who knows, but it is stuff that I've had in boxes for a long time. So if you want to try making jewellery, get stuff, costumes jewellery from like Claire's really cheap stops, take it apart, try and put it back together to something that's more aesthetically pleasing. One shopping tip I do have from Amazon is when you decide on something to buy for your craft materials and what have you, and you go through the filters, when it gets down to condition, the condition of the item, select used, because used doesn't mean it's been used. What it means is the item's been reduced because it either was sent to somebody if they didn't want it and they sent it back, and therefore it's not used but the box has been opened, or the box has been damaged but the contents inside is fine, but they can't sell it for new because the box is damaged, and you'll get a good percentage of the price off. I get things for half the price as they would be just because the box was opened or the box got dented, but the inside is exactly the same as it would be if you bought it brand new. So always try the used filter as opposed to the it being brand new. I mean, who cares if the box is damaged? I mean, yeah, okay if it's a gift, but if it's just for yourself, it gives a shit, eh? Right. She is stuffed, but she's got a big gaping hole. You get the holes done. First, I make the thread double thickness, because I'm going to be pulling on it and it could break while I'm pulling on it. Personally, I will put the needle in just before, a little bit past the beginning, in the wrong direction, and then thread it back a bit to secure the knot, because as I said again, you're going to be pulling and sometimes you'll pull the whole thing through and have to start again. So try and stretch it a little bit, then on the opposite side do a stitch, and then on the opposite to that parallel, yeah, up, and then across again, up, and I keep zigzagging back and forwards like this. Okay, just carry on. I find as long as these are horizontal, when you put it together, it's tidier. If you just do zip, 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 you'll end up with bumps and things in the join. So I'm going to keep doing this. Okay, I can't remember the name of the stitch. I read about it once, copied it, and then, you know. This, though, is my favourite bit. it just tickles me. So you see, all across. Now hold on to it tight, because you're going to pull slowly, and as it comes together you'll see the stitches tightening slowly. Now you can see why the double thickness makes a difference, because you are putting a lot of tension on. Now normally mine's neater than that, but I'm doing it upside down, but you get the gist. Then what I do, because this is one long stitch, as one long piece of thread that hasn't been knotted or anything, if any of that breaks, the whole thing will come apart. So what I do is I go in with another stitch over the top to secure the whole thing in place, and additionally you can bring the edges together like so. So everything's been brought together. Okay, and this is the basis for the body. Now I'll do the same for the head, stuck to other things. Anyway, the head in exactly the same way, but the head is going to be finished differently, because this, when it's done, is the basis, as I said, for the head, which is going to be felted. And felting you do on something, otherwise you'll be felting forever just to get the initial shape before doing the details. So if you make the shape first using fabric felt filled with plushy stuffing, and then we'll felt over the top. So body, head. I will later show you how I adjust the body to make the various bumpy parts, but so far she's going to be a big girl.